Good morning. I want to call the February 27th meeting of the Rutherford County Regional Planning Commission to order. Commissioner Pettis Red will lead us in prayer, and Will Jordan will lead us in the Pledge to Allegiance.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, we're thankful for this day that you've given us, for this opportunity to work with the issues of the county. Father, we ask that you watch over us, protect us, and guide us. And Father, we're so thankful for the many blessings that we enjoy, but may we always remember that the blessings that we have come from you. Watch over us today. We offer this prayer in our Son's holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, Gal.
Rhonda Allen. Richie Boland.
Here.
Veronica Buchanan. Here. Will Jordan.
Here.
Mike Cush. Craig Lynch.
Present.
Pettis Reed.
Here.
Steve Sandlin. Mike Vaught.
Here.
Vincent Windrow. Jeff Phillips.
Present.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Need to approve the minutes for the January 23rd meeting. I'll call on Vice Chairman Craig Lynch to do that.
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we approve those minutes.
Have a motion.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Any items withdrawn or deferred?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll get right into the meeting. Bond plat extension. Can we take all these, vote on all these at the same time?
I believe we can, sir.
We'll take them one at a time and explain them, and then we'll vote on them all together. A is Chestnut Valley Phase 1 bond extension.
That's down outside of Eagleville, and they've asked for a bond extension due to economic conditions. They have some houses down there, but they want a one-year bond extension. Same with Wyndham Cove is a bond extension, similar reason. The views at Lytle Creek is actually a plat extension. They haven't done anything out there. Mr. Stroop asked that we expand the approval of that plat for a year. We recommend approval of these requests, Mr. Chairman.
All of these the first extension that they've had.
They've used a lot of creeks, been there. That's
Mr. Stroop's been extended, I think, one other time. This is the second one for him.
Any questions?
Make a motion, we approve.
Motion to approve and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Submitted for preliminary plat approval. A, Sterling Ridge, Section 3, 3 lots on 6 acres zoned R15 locating along Rockingham Drive off of Allen Road. Harold Holmes, developer.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. As you stated, this property is located at the end of Rockingham Drive off of Allen Road, which is in the Leanna area. The applicant proposes to extend Rockingham Drive to the north in order to serve an additional 3 lots for a total of about 6 acres. The remaining 33 acres of the tract will be developed at a later time. Since this plat involves the extension of a public right-of-way is the reason you're seeing it as a preliminary, so it'll also have to come back as a final plat. I'll turn it over to Mr. Corbett for any comments on the engineering side.
We reviewed this plat, and the drainage on it basically coincides with the drainage we currently have. We've asked them to provide us a standard detail of a head wall on one of the pipes, but we will handle that during the construction phase because it'll be on the construction drawings. The rest of the plat meets our requirements, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Discussion?
Road extension distance, okay?
Yes, that's true.
Actually, aren't you doing a little bit of something to actually improve the drainage now? Putting a pipe under the road? It seems like this is out in my commission district. I'm very familiar
That's
with
correct,
the area.
Mr. Jordan. Right now, currently, as the water comes in, there is no pipe carried over, and it actually goes over the road. We're going to put a pipe under there with that head wall to catch it, so we won't have a problem with that at future date.
And you're only doing sites 10, 11, and 12. What about 7 and 8? Is that just for future?
7/8's already been approved on
Built
the
out.
original plat.
There are no further questions. I'll make a motion to approve as presented, contingent upon staff comments.
I second it.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item B, Harvest Woods, Section 1, revision, 155 lots on 148 acres zoned R15, located off Cutoff Road, Harvest Grove developer. Revision is for the addition of one lot.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, this property is located off of Cutoff Road. It's on the north side of Cutoff to the west of Lebanon Pike. The preliminary plat for this development was originally approved by the Planning Commission back in November of 2006. The final plat for Section 1, Phase 1 was approved in May of 2009 and recorded in July of that same year. So since the final plat has been recorded on the preliminary, no reapproval is necessary. The reason we're seeing this today is the final plat for the next section of the development, Section 1, Phase 2, was submitted to our department, for review, and we'll consider the final plat here in just a minute. It appears that an additional lot is being proposed along Ty Barber Avenue that was not on the preliminary plat originally. Since this was the case, we requested that the applicant submit a revised preliminary plat so that it would be consistent with the final plat if it was approved. As far as from a planning standpoint, there's really nothing changing about it. I think they shifted the road just a little bit, and they were able to get another lot just by shifting some of the lot lines around is really how they got the additional lot out. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Corbett to discuss any engineering issues.
There is no changing from the original drainage plan. When we looked at the total Harvest Wood altogether, we looked at all this back in here and tried to incorporate all the drainage. As Doug said, the only change is the fact that it's a surveying line on a piece of paper. So the drainage remains the same, and it meets our requirements, Mr. Chairman.
Discussion?
Which lot number is the new lot?
I believe it's lot 88 on the plat.
I make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 8, submitted for final approval. A, Harvest Woods, Section 1, Phase 2, 24 lots on 18 acres, zoned R15, located off Cutoff Road, Harvest Grove developer. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. As we just discussed a moment ago on the preliminary plat, this is the final plat for Harvest Woods Section 1, Phase 2. Don't really have any additional comments to go along with it. The plat really appears to be in good order since you've approved the revision to the preliminary plat. If you approve this, it will be consistent with that as well. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 9, submitted for site plan approval, Consolidated Utility District Water Treatment Plant, Solids Processing Building. This is total new construction of approximately 13,000 square feet on 23 acres, zoned R15, located along Central Valley Road. James C. Haley and Company applicant.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. As you stated, this is the CUD water treatment plant. It's an existing location for the plant. They're making an addition of about 13,000 square feet for a solids processing building. We do have a representative here from CUD that can go into more detail about the project itself if you have any questions. After reviewing the plan really did appear to be in good order. There were a couple of issues that we did have that are still outstanding. The first has to do with the water drainage calculations. They were stamped, but they weren't stamped by an engineer. They were stamped by the engineer in training. We just need those to be stamped by the engineer. Also, the building, if you look on the site plan, the building, it's got a first floor and second floor elevation. The height of the building is a little over 44 feet, which is higher than our height limitations allow. It's a maximum of 35 feet. We checked to see if maybe it was just the roof pitch that maybe made it go higher, because there are there's some give for that, but it's a flat roof. So the only issue here is that if this is approved, it would have to get a height variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals for the height of the building. But besides that, the plan appears to be in good order, and I don't know if I'll ask Mr. Corbett if he had any engineering concerns with the project.
We agree with what they're doing out there. Meets our requirement.
Comments, questions? Just want to increase the capacity. What's the purpose?
Well, again, I'll ask Ms. Wood if she's got any comments on that particular?
I didn't do the design, but no, it's not for capacity, it's for, solids. Right now we have 2 ponds.
Jennifer, can you come up to the mic? Thanks.
Jennifer Wood with TV. Right now we have 2 ponds where some of our solids go, whenever our water comes in. And in the back, they kind of go through this process where the solids, the water is taken off and then the solids go to the ponds in the back. And right now we're trying to, figure out a way to, decrease those. We're having some issues with some of those ponds in the back and they're getting too full. And when we do increase the capacity of the water plant, we have more solids that we have to, dispose of. So this is just a solids facility. It's our centrifuge facility. And it's to deal with those solids more effectively so we can get more of the water out of that. And that's what the centrifuge is supposed to do. So, it's not for the water plant capacity right now. It has to do with just the treatment of solids.
Any questions for Jennifer? Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve, contingent staff comments.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second.
Yeah. Be voting.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye. Motion carries. Item number 10, staff reports and other business. A is consideration of planning and engineering department's budget. I think the budget committee met last Tuesday, if I remember right.
Wednesday.
Veronica Pettis, Will, Rhonda and Mike were on that committee. And I've asked Pettis, if you would, to give us a very brief report, and then we'll have a discussion if we need one. Pettis?
The committee did meet last Wednesday. You have before you a packet of materials that do list all the different things that we went over as far as the budget is concerned for this department. I think our department was probably one of the first in the all the different departments within the county that present these before the mayor. If I'm not right, we commend you for that and taking care of those. But they are basically probably about within what we had last year at this time. You will see some decrease in some things. Some of these deal with consultant fees, and this they have decreased because concerning the plan. We have most of that already paid for, and whatever those have decreased there. There are no new expenses coming up. There are no new purchases, no vehicles, anything of that type. So we do commend the staff for holding the budget where it is and doing a great job there, and we recommend approval of this budget.
Thank you. And thank Veronica and Will for working on that as well. Discussion. Doug, any comments?
No, sir. Mr. Reed did a great job.
Any major changes from last year?
Really, the biggest change would have, like Mr. Reed said, was the fact that the consultant fees went down just because we're almost finished with the contract. So we really, all we have budgeted there is what we've got left, and it's only a few $1,000s. So that wasn't.
That was my next question.
Right.
Last year's budget ran out, so it sounds like you're on target.
Yes, sir. We did have a couple of small increases and things, but they were due to like dues and memberships going up, membership fees going up and things like that. It's the normal. And the biggest probably was the maintenance agreements, with our copiers and large format scanners and those kind of things. Those typically go up every year. So.
Other questions? Need a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Josh, do we need to call, Josh is not here. Do we need to call the roll?
Probably better safe than sorry.
Oh, Gail, if you would.
Who was the second? I got Mike as first.
the only
Will.
one.
Okay. Richie Boland,
Yes.
Veronica Buchanan,
Yes.
Will Jordan,
Yes.
Craig Lynch,
Yes.
Pettis Reed,
Yes.
Mike Vaught,
Yes.
Jeff Phillips.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Item B, we talked last meeting about following up, maybe with a timeline and some, just a couple of follow-up questions and on the comprehensive plan or zoning ordinance. And
Yes, sir.
Doug, why don't you bring us up to date?
Yes, sir, thank you. As you recall, at our last meeting, we had a work session regarding some of the comments on the zoning ordinance that we've been working through. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of the discussion and what we've come up with, but just to let you know that we have passed out a few pieces of paper for you. The first is a front and back sheet like this. It says recommended options on the front. That's concerning the plan development. We had some concerns about the way we were handling open space with plan developments. We've kind of laid out some options and what staff feels is the best option to go with, so just review that in your free time. Also, we've received some additional comments since our last meeting, and that's this sheet right here. Kind of goes through some of the all the additional comments that we received. And again, I won't belabor any of these at this point, but just something for you to look at. And we'll also be getting these on our website or here in the next day or so to make sure that that's out there for people to see. The proposed timeline that you asked about.
Any questions on those comments before we go on? I don't know if you've had a chance to look at them. We will kind of run through these at our nighttime meeting.
Right, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, and as part of the timeline, as you stated, our next meeting will be March the 12th, and we will be having our night planning commission meeting at that point. We do have one zoning case to discuss. I don't think it's one that's going to take just a great length of time, so we should have plenty of time to discuss the zoning ordinance amendments as well. But kind of the tentative timeline that we've laid out at this point would be at our next meeting, March the 12th, would be to discuss our recommendations on plan developments, rock quarry, cell tower regulations, as well as any other issues that the commission may have some questions on or may wish to discuss. If you're comfortable at that point, we would recommend going ahead and scheduling the next public hearing for the Planning Commission at their April 9th, or at your April 9th meeting. We'd conduct the second public hearing to gain additional input. Now, from that point, a lot of it depends on what happens at that meeting. If no recommendation is made at that point, we would just recommend scheduling an additional work session to try to work through whatever issues were brought up at the Planning Commission that they had questions about. If a recommendation is made at that meeting, at the April 9th meeting, at that point it would be moved to the Board of Commissioners for their review. A possible date for the first meeting would be May the 17th. State law does require for something like this, when it's an overhaul of an ordinance like this with a new map and everything, we do have to advertise at least 30 days prior before the public hearing. If we had the public hearing in April at the Planning Commission, we would have enough time to, if it were recommended approved, to move it to the Board of Commissioners on the 17th. That would give us 30 days to do that. So we would be able to have the public hearing at the Board of Commissioners at their May 17th regular meeting. But again, a lot of that's going to depend on what comes out of the next couple meetings with the work session in March, and then if a public hearing is scheduled in April, and how that works out. But that's kind of how we see it going forward at this point. So I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Just to kind of throw another proposal out there, what if we went with this March schedule, and then maybe in April schedule an update with the county commission and give them a lot of information, and then maybe at the regular June meeting put it on the agenda for them to have a public hearing and to approve it.
I mean, that would certainly work. I mean, it would just, I guess what I hear you saying is at their May meeting, we just give a presentation on the zoning, but not necessarily a public hearing at that point, just give them the information.
Just an update where we've been the whole trip.
Yes.
And what we've gone through in the last 3 or 4 months, and the updates that we've had, and give them the zoning ordinance to look at and to digest along with those updates.
Yeah, I mean, we
for
could,
a month or so,
yes.
and then We'll have 2 meetings in June, but the first
Right.
June meeting will be the regular June meeting, and it would be probably appropriate to do it at that meeting.
Yeah, we can certainly do that as well.
I would hope that whatever meeting we had a public hearing at the county commission level, we wouldn't vote immediately following the public hearing. I would like to be able to have time to digest the comments from the public, because it looks kind of like it's being steamrolled to me anyway, a public hearing, and then we turn around and vote 2 minutes later. So we could have the public hearing and vote at the next meeting or whenever, because there could be valid questions come up.
Right.
Because more people tend to come to the county commission public hearings and do the planning commission public hearings.
Yeah.
And we might not have anybody, but we could have a courtroom full of people.
Sure. And something to keep in mind when it comes to zoning ordinances like this, when we're doing an overhaul. Your point's very well taken, Mr. Jordan, about, the issues you bring up. When the planning commission makes their recommendation to the full county commission, it becomes what's called the certified version. At that point, if it goes to the county commission, if changes need to be made, it'll have to come back here to the planning commission for your consideration before it goes back to the county commission. It's not like making an amendment on a zoning change or something like that, where you're adding conditions or something like that. It works a little differently in regards to state law. So just to let you know about that any
Commission-
changes at all would
The
have
county
to be.
commission can only vote up or down.
Yes.
They can't
As-
make any changes whatsoever.
As I understand state law, that's correct, yes, sir. When it comes to the full zoning.
I think the county commissioners certainly need time to get feedback from their constituents
Right.
too.
Could it be possible that we have the public hearing, present the plan to the county commission in April, and have the public hearing in April, and then maybe vote on it in May?
Now, what is the May 17th meeting? What is that consisting of? Is that going to be the public hearing?
Well, the May 17th meeting, as we have it on the timeline, would be the public hearing before the Board of Commissioners, where a decision
he-
could be
He
made.
wants to move it up to April.
No, I'm sorry,
Okay.
I meant May.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, no problem.
And could you repeat your comment again,
Yeah,
to make sure I
I'm sorry.
understand? Yeah.
What we were talking about is maybe June for the
Right.
commission to make a
Right.
decision. If we left that at June, but have the public hearing in May, present the
Present the whole
process.
thing and get the comments. Yeah, you could do, I mean, really, it would be, I think it'd have the same kind of effect as what Mr. Jordan was talking about. You'd have the public hearing, just make it clear. I mean, we'll just have to see how it all goes, but, if that's the desire of the commission, they would just make it clear at the beginning that we just want public input tonight, we're not gonna make a decision. And then we would just take all of the comments we received, see if they've already been addressed and whatnot, and at that point, we would just report back and see what the county commission would want to do at that point.
If we did that, had the public hearing in May before the county commission, and there was adjustments to be made, we could make those during that month.
Yes, you
Or the
could.
first part of June before we had the other commission.
Yes.
County commission meeting, right?
That's possible, yes, sir.
And we're still planning on having the April 9th public hearing before this body.
Yes, well, again, this is a tentative layout, depending on what happens at the next work session on the 12th, which will be our evening meeting.
Just
If-
for the viewers
Right,
out there,
yeah, if you feel-
tentatively,
yes.
there will be a public hearing, there will be 2 more public hearings minimum.
Right, that's correct.
One in front of this body, one in front of the county commission.
That is correct.
Mr. Chairman, if it goes to the county commission and they have some problems with it and it comes back to us to restructure those problems, can it go back to them without having a public hearing? Do we have to have another public hearing? It's gonna put another month in there on us if we do,
Right.
which is okay.
I think
Huh?
a lot of it's going to depend on what kind of changes there are. If they're pretty substantial, I'd recommend they have another public hearing on it.
So that
quite
would push,
frankly.
that would push it on another
Right,
month,
and
which
you
is
know, and
okay.
that's, yeah, I mean, that would add another 30 days to the process at least. But
We're not under a set timeline where we have to have this done by August
No.
No,
or
we're not.
July or any certain date. So
Also, if these individual components that create a little heartburn, are we going to, as individuals, vote on those individually to see whether we keep them and then vote on it as a whole? Or we're just going to discussion?
You're talking
Say the
about
rock
the
quarry,
planning
say
commission?
the distance on the rock quarry. Are we going to vote on that individually?
Well, I
and
think
we're all being
what
consensus?
what I'd recommend is take a look at what we're proposing based on the comments we've heard
Mm-hmm.
at the last meeting. And what I envision is, at the next meeting, we just kind of go through the issues as they were presented, come up with a consensus as to how it's going to be handled. And then, at the public hearing, if you guys are comfortable at that point, I think you can just make one vote on the whole document. We'll go over what changes have been made, what's been put in based on the comments we've received. As far as the draft ordinance is concerned, we'll say, okay, these are the things that we've changed. This is now in the document. So I don't think you'll have to take each one kind of individually. I think you can just take it, we'll go through the changes and you can just take it all at one time.
But to get a consensus on the footage, or could get a consensus on the 1 acre lots over the county, I guess.
I mean, that's
We'd have to
up
have
to you. If you want to handle
way
it
to get a
that way, that's
consensus.
certainly fine with us. I mean, we don't have any problem with that. That's more of a procedural thing, I think. And as long as there's consensus reached one way or another, we're fine with it, so.
Okay. Just-
Ask our legal staff to take a look at Vice Chairman Lynch's question about that second public hearing, if we had some changes made, and give us some feedback on that. Any other questions? Any other comments? This timeline this is February, and right now it's out to June, so that's 3 or 4 more months, and a lot of time to make more discussion and get a lot of public input in this process, a lot more public input into this process. So, Doug, Gail, could one of you kind of repeat where we stand right now with the recommended timeline?
Sure. At this point, again, what we're, as we understand going forward, March 12th will be our next night meeting. Again, we do have a zoning matter that night, but it's just something that shouldn't take a whole long time. We would continue our discussions on the draft zoning ordinance, especially in regards to the plan development questions that were raised, the rock quarry issues, cell tower regulations, those things that we discussed at our last meeting, as well as any other issues that you wish to bring up at that meeting. From that point, if you're comfortable, we'd recommend having the next public hearing on April the 9th, which again would be our regular night meeting. It'd be in the courthouse. We'd have our second public hearing on that matter. If the Planning Commission is comfortable at that point, they can make a recommendation for approval to the Board of Commissioners. And if that's the case, then we would have time to advertise for a public hearing for the May Board of Commissioners meeting. As I understand the discussion we've had today, that meeting may be one where we just really take comments and not make, or the county commission not make any kind of a decision one way or the other, and then come back at the June meeting to discuss whatever comments may have come out of that. If no recommendation is made, if the Planning Commission would like to continue discussions on some issues that were brought up, then we just kind of move forward from there. We'd come up with a revised timeline at that point after the April meeting.
Those 2 county commission meetings, May would be the 17th and June would be the 14th.
Okay, yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, one more thing, please.
Sure.
When we talked at our last meeting across the street, you brought up the point that we cannot zone something out.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like a little legal staff, give them some time to give me an answer to what constitutes not zoning something out. Does that 1,500 feet create such a distance? Is that, could they go to court and prove it was zoned something out?
You
Like
want the
definition
legals, okay.
of what zoning something out? Say on the rock quarry, it's gonna come up.
Exclusionary zoning basically is the
Yes,
technical
the rock quarry is
term,
gonna
but
come
yeah.
up to 1,500, and the 1,500 feet, is a lot of acreage, and it'd almost be virtually impossible to have one. Are we zoning something out? Do we need to decrease that? Do we need to work the plan? Do we need to make it where we can work something out? But I'd like to know.
Yeah,
what-
we'll work with our legal staff on that question for discussion at the next meeting. Yes, sir.
Okay.
But if it's currently zoned that, I mean, if it's currently zoned the 1,500, how would, it's already zoned that.
Mm-hmm.
How would we be,
Well, again, I think we'll let our legal staff
oh, okay.
address
Okay.
that. I understand. I'm pretty sure I understand where Mr. Lynch is going with that, and we'll kind of move forward with that.
Believe in
and
the
have a
rough
discussion.
math I did in my head last time, to have a 25 acre quarry, you had to have around 380 acres in a square. you know, to have a 25-acre quarry, and most parcels don't come in a perfect square, so that'd be a perfect world. That's a lot of land to have a quarry in the center of it. But, and I would wonder if any of our quarries now meet that requirement. I would think they're all just grandfathered in, but I don't know if any of the quarries in the county meet that requirement.
Good point, good follow-up point. Thank
We'll
you, Craig.
follow up on all those. Yeah.
You need a motion?
Yeah, let's,
Make a motion, we adjourn.
let's move on that timeline first, Craig.
Okay. Oh, I thought we had that hammered in. That's good.
Any other discussion on the timeline? And once again, this is really flexible, you guys.
Yes, sir.
If we need to move it back, we will. County Commission does not meet in July. So that's the reason that we're talking about June. But if we don't meet that, there's nothing magical about moving it back on further. But that's still like 4 months out. And that should give plenty of time for additional discussion and also public input. So that timeline with the 2 county commission meetings in May for discussion, and then June to schedule the vote, if that's legal.
Will y'all be doing budget during the May and June meetings?
We'll be doing some budget items, but
Will you have a separate meeting for the
we
budget?
will. It'll be the last week in June.
Yeah, that'll be a day meeting.
Yeah, this will be the regular meeting in June.
I'll defer to you, Rhonda. I'll defer my motion to you.
Need a motion for the timeline.
I don't know how we can. I'm thinking we're gonna have to push it back anyway, because even if we have a really good March 12th meeting, I still think we're gonna have to come back, because luckily we're getting some input now from the community, so I think April 9th, I think, will be us maybe coming back with another set of discussions.
It may be true.
I mean, we'll just have to see where it all
I
goes. I mean, just to be quite frank, as far as the website's concerned, we haven't gotten a comment on that for several weeks now. We've gotten a couple trickle-in things here from from a few outside sources, but nothing on the website itself. So, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see if it's, the same comments we've been receiving at this point. At the public hearing, I recall, a lot of the issues had to deal with the R15 versus the R1 acre zone or the rock quarry. Those were really the major issues that were zoning related, at least, that were brought up at that meeting. And, as far as the quarry issue, we'll discuss that further. I think, we've gotten our direction from the Planning Commission as far as how you want us to handle that. In regards to the R15 versus R1 acre, I mean, eventually it's a decision you're going to have to make. Either you want it or you don't. So,
I would suggest that we have this timeline. If after the April meeting we see that that's not going to work, we'll adjust it.
right, and we're perfectly fine with that. And
So
that's-
it's tentative. This is tentative.
Yeah, this is
ain't nothing,
and we even,
so-
it's just a proposed timeline. Again, a lot of it, even on that second point where we're talking about the April 9th meeting, I mean, we still recommend having the public hearing on that date, but really, it's kind of up in the air as to what happens after that. If another work session or if it goes forward, we'll just have to kind of play it by ear at that point. So,
My concern, if it is a concern or point, would be let's get a proposal in the county commission's hands enough in advance so that they can look at it, get public input themselves without having to vote on it right then, and absorb what this body presents them, as well as some concerns from the public as well. If we can get that in their hands, once again, before the summer recess, regardless of when it goes for a final vote, I think we'll be okay. But I really would like to get it in their hands and let them take a look at it before the night that they're supposed to vote on
right.
it.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that's a very good idea.
And that's a good point. With the summer recess, that's additional time that they will have to look at, and they're gonna have some issues.
Oh, yeah. We have. So they probably will too, as far as public input and some telephone calls and those kind of things. So let's just leave the timeline like it is, and we'll better know after April, after our meeting, Richie, if we need to adjust that for the commission. But whether it's May or June, I'd like to get at least a copy in the commissioner's hands and have a discussion before that body as to where we are and the recommendation from the planning commission, at least some recommendation from the planning commission, so that they can chew on it for a while.
Yes, sir.
And once again, I think the issue that a lot of commissioners would have would be, I can't vote on this tonight, with all the public input that they'll get and presenting it there. So to give it to them and give them time to receive individual feedback and also be able to take a look at it, especially what has been explained to them, I think would be important. So let's kind of stick with that timeline, and if we need to adjust it beyond June, it'll be fine.
Yes. Yeah, and yeah, even if you make a motion to, I guess endorse this would probably be the best word. I mean, you're not locked in to anything. I mean, this is just.
Let's not even move on it. Let's
That's
just
fine.
have it as a guideline.
That's fine.
Okay? And we'll just kind of go from there.
Yes, sir.
We'll know a lot better after our April meeting, April meeting where we stand.
Yes, sir.
I guess I got one more question, I guess, for staff. Are we ever going to discuss the map kind of more in detail on like where we're coming up with the different colors?
I mean, we certainly can. Did you have specific questions on that? I mean,
Well, I still got a little bit of heartburn with how we've got yellow, like the light yellow coming way down in towards the city in a couple of spots. How did we come up with those?
sure, yeah, we can certainly do that. I mean, we can just do that at our work session. That's okay with you. We can discuss that in more detail.
Okay.
Kind of go through how the methodology worked and everything.
Okay.
I think that'd be good.
Yeah, we'll do that at our next meeting.
In the March, right? Yes, sir.
And not only that, but have our consultants there so that they can kind of help us with it as well.
Yes, sir. We can certainly do that.
Is that good enough?
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Anything?
No, sir. We have
I'd
nothing.
like to thank once again, the Budget Committee again for all of your work. Thank you, and the staff for leading us through that process again.
It's always a pleasure.
Several days into that. We worked hard on it.
Yes.
Did Gene sit down?
We didn't eat lunch.
Now's the time, Craig.
Motion to adjourn.
We're adjourned. Thank you.